Hi, Mihaela.
Hi,
Well,
Sami.
welcome here. We've known each other for a long time, since I think more than 20 years, since you started as a manager in Romania and now you are the manager in Paris. But you'll talk to us a little bit more in a second about that. This is one of the interviews with friends and old colleagues and clients that I am having for the 40-year anniversary of Intact Academy, to celebrate and to think together about what is change and how does that work, because it's fascinated me for more than 40 years. So I love having these conversations, and I'll certainly love having the conversation with you.
My pleasure.
Um, so maybe we can start with you introducing yourself as you are today.
Yeah. Well, as I am today, I'm leading the people and culture of an international company headquartered in France, in Paris. So I have about 4,000 people in this company. And I got here, so I started as a consultant in Romania, as you said. And I've been in HR now, well, for about the same time that I know you, more than 20 years. I've worked in HR in Romania, in Belgium, and in France for more than 20 years in all types of roles, very operational, country level, very strategic, global, and in more expertise, talent, leadership, and succession planning types of roles. So my experience with change has always been in HR and as a leader.
Yeah. And you have a lot of experience as change, not only as an HR person, but it's also your study.
Mm.
So I'm really curious about your ideas about change. Do you think it's possible to change an organization?
Well, that I think it becomes quite a philosophical question, because some would say the more things change, the more they stay the same. So there's obviously, as I study more about change, you get into more philosophical questions, but some of them are quite difficult to nail in very, practical operational terms. Like, what we need to do is to, well, do something about it, not just think about it.
Hmm. And are there change programs, maybe in the company you're in now, that you're really proud of?
Mm, I'm in the middle of changing lots of things in this company, and there's many factors. So there's always a plan, something you want to, well, you put in place a strategy, well, mission, vision, strategy. So there's a playbook we've all been through. And then there's market conditions and reality. So we always need to adjust and adapt. So I could say that probably 90% of what I do on a daily basis is change. And some of what I've done in the past is very helpful and very practical. And some I need to reconsider to the lens of my study and maybe adjust some of the things I'm doing here.
What did you learn in your study, or what did you develop in your study, I should say, that made you change your mind or your lens around change?
Well, I think a sense of dissatisfaction with the frameworks and tools I had as a practitioner. And some of it, I mean, what I think many of us have done with bigger or smaller change projects was to understand the why, the what, have clarity and get to a level of clarity about those, build some sort of a map of how we get there,
Mhm.
and deal with resistance, anticipate resistance, and the way to do that, the simpler way, is to impact those affected by change as you plan. So this will maybe make your planning longer and your process more delayed, but it increases your likelihood for success because those affected know about it. So this was quite a practical, quite a useful framework. What I found, the more complexity around us, and especially I've always worked in international corporations. So you have individual systems, right? People, you have team dynamics, you have subcultures, you have structures, you have processes. So there are layers and layers. And my dissatisfaction was that all models I had were linear.
Yeah.
Were just one step at a time. And I've actually I'm now writing my thesis, and the title of my thesis is Life in the Machine, and the subtitle is Building Capacity for Change Through Aesthetic Engagement.
Oh, wow.
So it's quite, but in a way, part of the dissatisfaction is we use very, at least in large corporations, we use quite mechanistic models to drive change. And I think change management is a fantasy because we can't really manage change. Change happens. So there's many things we should know what we are doing and why, but there's many layers of that, the what, the how, and the where. It's not a linear. It's like a multiverse, if you'd like. It happens on many dimensions. So I came up with this my own definition or experience of change as movement. Change is movement from whatever place to another place. And as I stayed more and more with this experience of the machine manages it linearly and mechanically, and the human experience is anything but linear and mechanical, is emotional, is creative, is so I started to use different methods, different ways. I've started from my own burnout, having led change, where I found myself and using all these things I just mentioned. And I just remember the very concrete large project I led, enterprise-wide project in one of my previous companies, and how I found myself kind of carrying it all. And yes, and as a leader, actually, that's why I think managed change is a fantasy, because no one can manage it fully for others. The moment you manage it, you are part of it. So I started from my own experience of burnout, and I've developed this image that change, this movement. If I look at it as a movement, it involves loss, losing something. Sometimes you can lose yourself, you can lose friends, you can lose, but there's a sense of loss as an individual. And also it requires imagination, because change by definition means you'll get somewhere you've not been before.
Yes.
So I'm more comfortable with this type of imagery for change than the mechanics. I can tell you where I want to go, but you've not seen it, I've not seen it. And we have different frameworks and different experiences of the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess a lot of the change that I get called in for is a moving away from. So, people are that visionary about we're moving away from, but you're talking about change as an imagination, really,
Correct.
of possibility.
Correct. And that's because in my role as a leader is to lead the organization to a different state. And there's many, why is that? In some cases, it's been for growth. The organization has to grow. So it's not necessarily a problem, but it's growth. In others, it's restructuring. How are we going to do with less resources, less this and that? I've worked a lot with mergers and acquisitions. It's fascinating change work because it touches on identity.
Yes.
We are this, we are that. What's the third way? And obviously, I've worked a lot also with a lot of digitalization of processes, where people have a sense of loss of their comfort zone. But yeah, my change is really looking forward where we are going.
And that's the movement, but the where you're going is not always very clear, I think.
Correct. Yeah.
So how do you do that in practice? Because you have human beings, people
Yeah.
get really scared. Usually, when you say
Mhm.
we have to move, they go, "Oh,
Yeah.
it might be not be the best place, but I know it." Yeah.
So I think maybe I'll give you a couple of examples and some, but these are more things I'm experimenting with, and some are more niche, others are a bit more mainstream, but I'm more careful of how I do it. So in terms of the niche things, I've worked a couple of years ago as a consultant in a short in between two HR roles as a consultant with a merger well, actually it was an acquisition, where there was a lot of friction between two very different cultures. And I worked with the leadership team and with the HR team. So it was flagged as a potential risk for performance. So what I did, I've been working a lot with image and photography in my doctorate. So I've asked everyone. I've had one group for the HR leadership team, one group for the leadership team of this new group. I've asked them, and it was over the summer holidays, to capture images around them that show features of the company, of the culture of the organization they want to be part of. And I made a film for each of them with music. I gave it back to them.
So what they want, so their vision.
It's the vision, exactly. It's not the problem we have today because they knew they were different. So I did the same thing for the group of the executive team of the business and for the HR team of the business. The friction that it was present in both teams and the cultures were really different. And what I've noticed, so I collected all their pictures. I used some music and I made a very short, bricolage, iMovie kind of film for each of them, and I offered it back to them. And then I asked them for some feedback. So that's what I found. That's very personal. By using music, you can bring the human experience and all the emotional complexity because music is multi-layered. But what was most interesting was there was symbolics that were very aligned between the two. So there was no difference whatsoever between one culture tending to bring some images and a different culture, another one. So what that did for them, it created a space for dialogue.
Yeah.
So it shifted from this friction, we used to do it like this, we used to do it like this, for what does it mean? I found I had one interesting insight. The executive team there were lots of very broad landscapes, very big, and HR teams, probably 20 or 30%, they had trees, one or two or three. So even when they look at nature, it was quite interesting, and I shared the films for both of them. So obviously this is quite experimental, and it was an intervention, but a small thing to reframe the discussion and create this space. I had another one which I just did a bit more than a month ago with the top 70 leaders in my company that's going through dramatic change in the industry, in the ecosystem. So it's all over. It's not just to solve a problem. And we've been working now for more than a year defining and communicating the strategy, what we're doing, and so on. And we still find that even for the top leadership, that sense of loss or the attachment with the identity is quite strong. It prevents them from acting towards, from leading in the change. So they become very passive. They expect us as the senior team to tell them what to do. So what we did a walk. We had in a landscape that had some hurdles. And for us, let's say there's people need to believe and to trust that we can get where we want to get, and they can make a difference. So I just did the walk with my CEO ahead of time. We had some milestones about where we've been from over the past year. So we walked and we talked about where we've been rather than slides and KPIs, which we obviously do as well. And then we had actually 3 milestones in the landscape, including the final one that was beautiful and a nice place. So we walked. We asked people, actually, we stopped before we walked from today to the next 3 years. We stopped to remember those who are no longer with the team. So we've gone through restructuring. Some people we had to let go. Some people decided it's not for them. So that's that 1 minute where we all stopped as a group to think about them.
Mm-hmm.
There was something in the energy. And then we walk year 1, and I asked them, what do you see at the end of year 1? In business terms, it started from revenue. They had really milestones like the typical business things, but then they started to chip in. So we opened up that dialogue place, and we did it again for 2 years' time and 3 years' time. And it was like a transformation journey that by walking it, they start believing or not. Maybe for some of them it's not for them, but at least if it's not for them, they're probably ready to say it's not for me, it's time for me to go, because then the loss is more important than what they can imagine.
Yes.
And it was quite simple, effective, low cost. So it's more of an intervention, but these little things that's what I'm trying to do. I find it now a mission to bring human experience inside the machine. We still operate inside the machine. That's not going to change.
But it's also movement, and you give a space for grief and for remembrance and for collective action, the walking together.
Yeah.
It reminds me of I went to Druids' tombs in England, where they walk the spiral, almost like you walk in and then you walk out again and are transformed in the walking.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful metaphor for change. Yeah, beautiful.
And such an experience of togetherness when you walk as a group, because in organization, no one walks the change by itself. It's never an individual journey.
Yes, yes. Are there things when you look back on your change journey where you think, I wish I hadn't done it that way, or?
Well, definitely that project that almost got me to burnout. I think I did what bothered me for a long time. I thought I did everything by the book, by that classical.
You probably did.
I did everything by the book, and that's where I ended up, kind of carrying it all. And there's various reasons for that. First, there was so much change in the environment around the organization that basically what was I doing? What I was doing was was the right thing, but maybe not suitable to where the company needed to go at that time. Mm-hmm. So I decided to persist in doing a technically and creatively good job, but it wasn't aligned anymore. And I couldn't see, because I was fighting my own sense of loss, of a sense of maybe what for me were standards of how to do things. And you don't see because you are in it, so it's fun. You think it's the right thing. The others they are with you in the beginning, because I made sure I have volunteers and lots of energy, so they were with me, and slowly I was almost left alone. Yeah. Without realizing I was alone. And actually I should have taken a hint. It was time for me to leave. Yeah. But I didn't.
Yeah. I think as I get more of being a village elder, as you and I are in the change landscape, I have more and more sense of energy. You know, if there's no energy in it, it's probably not the right thing to do. So yeah, it's interesting. Are there, if people would start change management, or there's no management of change, but change agency, let's call it that. If they would start doing that in an organization today, what lessons would you give them? Things that you wish probably that you had, but nobody told you then.
Well, in these kinds of organizations, where typically, again, because you have there's lots of alignment, stakeholders, so it's quite complex. The tendency would be to rely on the mechanics. So people, when they start, typically they will take a model, they will take a framework, and they will want to apply it. So the first advice I have is to find a way. You need to do that. You can't not do that. You need to do that, but find a way to get to project human experience in it, even if starting with your own, because it's quite sometimes you position yourself on one part of it. So I'm now the one leading, I'm now building the slides, I'm now the one organizing workshops and whatever it is that we do mechanically. And when we do that, we position ourselves differently. We can't have both the experience and this is being done to someone.
Yeah.
So there's various ways in which people do that. That's why, and maybe some of them are not in the work environment. Like for me, art is important. For others, it could be meditation. It could be walk in nature. But just find a way to connect to the humanity and the human experience of going through this, because you will be asking people to go through your change project. And that means the human experience is there.
Yes, I'm really hearing the shift from change as a technology almost to change as a relational human experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's, I mean, because it's the relationship between the people involved, and the relationship, change in itself is another relationship, right? Because whatever, me and the system, me, one department with another department, one function with another function, it's always a three-way relationship.
Yeah, and I guess you can do that best if you also work on yourself, because if you're blocked in this human relational experience, it's going to be very difficult to provoke that in a system.
Absolutely. But that's, what is a bit, it's almost a paradox of my own journey of reflection of change. The more I've worked with these soft kind of things like art, photography, music, I find I'm in better shape to deal with hard things. I'm actually becoming tougher in some cases. I remember that was old wisdom, but that's for leaders in general. What people regret mostly in terms of driving teams, driving performance, is not making changes fast enough.
Yes.
And I come from that maybe mindset that you need to give everyone a chance and you need to help people develop and invest in them and so on. And I think I'm part of the village elders. I don't have that much time anymore. And in some cases, things need to stop, and they need to stop properly, and they need to stop now. So that's part of my own kind of change journey I needed to be in. And I found that a bit intriguing, that I thought all these working in this more softer type of space will make me softer, and it had quite the opposite effect, because that's what I needed to change for myself.
Yes, I really understand that. There's also something about being able to look at conditions for change more probably. I don't know about you, but when I started with change projects 40 years ago, I thought everybody can change. And so maybe there's a difference in looking at, who can change and where can we change, and is it really possible, and is this really the place you need to be at the moment? So there's something about being more discerning, maybe, in what is possible and what is not possible.
Oh yeah, I think that's true for both individuals and groups. Now, as a business leader, you can always resource, right? So I don't have, let's say I have too many transactional people in HR, I need more development people, right? So then that's part of the conditions. I need to resource it as an organization. But as individuals, indeed, some people will never change. And yeah, probably it's not worth investing too much time in that.
Yeah. So your advice to younger people in the village is see it as a human relational experience and become tougher and softer at the same time and more discerning.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't be afraid sometimes, but I mean, I think some lessons they can almost think you're the smartest cookie. So, and you need to go through that as well, as long as you learn from it. Yeah.
Yes, there is a level of ambition if you want to be a change agent as well. Well,
And that's good. I think you need that because you need to start from that. You need that to build experience.
yeah, there's a level of maybe overconfidence you need to start to change.
Absolutely.
Anyway, thank you very much for this conversation, Mihaela, and I wish you the best in the change you're doing now.
Thank you, Sari. And happy anniversary to Intact and to your change work.